Why do we need carbohydrate? Carbohydrate is an important macronutrient that can help endurance athletes achieve optimal performance by meeting the energy demands of exercise and ensuring adaptation to training. Carbohydrate provides a greater yield of adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, per volume of oxygen from the Krebs cycle to the mitochondria. Fat and protein break down ATP at a much slower rate, therefore not efficient for meeting energy need demands of intense exercise. ATP is needed from the mitochondria in order to allow the muscles to contract and provide efficient cellular metabolism. Low carbohydrate during training can result in greater feeling of fatigue, decreased cognitive function, a decrease in performance, and decreased work rate.
The idea of carb loading involves ingesting large amounts of carbohydrates to store energy before events, which is why it's a popular practice. Oh, God.
Has this ever happened to you?
The idea of carb loading involves ingesting large amounts of carbohydrates to store energy before events, which is why it is a popular practice for endurance athletes. However, oftentimes it is done improperly. Carb loading must be done in accordance with individual needs and event demands, which is what Carbo Up does for you. Essentially, the goal is to maximize glycogen storage. Glycogen is your body's store of carbohydrates, and the more glycogen you can store, the more energy your body can get. These stores become depleted during exercise and are replenished with proper fueling. The mistake people often make is ingesting large amounts of carbs to increase these stores, but those stores have a limited amount of space, so the carbs then turn into excess weight or cause GI distress, which harms your performance. And we're here to help you fuel properly. Really, we want to create a strategy that can deliver carbohydrate to the working muscle at a rate that is dependent on the absolute exercise intensity as well as the duration of the event. Higher carbohydrate intakes result in better performance. The ingestion of multiple transportable carbohydrates will allow a very high carbohydrate oxidation rate and superior performance. We're going to help you get the right recipe. First off, in relation to the timing of carb intake, you want to be careful. Eating too much in the 30 to 60 minutes before your performance can cause stomach issues. It is recognized that ingestion of carbohydrate in the immediate pre-exercise period, which is that 30 to 60 minutes, can reduce liver glucose output, stimulate glucose uptake and oxidation, and induce a rebound hypoglycemia. Furthermore, you can't fully utilize the nutrients from food you're eating unless you have around 3 to 4 hours to digest before the event. You also don't want to compete on an empty stomach after not eating in the morning, so a liquid or solid meal should be consumed 2 to 4 hours prior to your event in order to prevent an overnight fasted condition. Another problem we want to help you avoid is how to carbo load in the days leading up to your event. Athletes often carbo load the night before an event, but that isn't shown to effectively help performance. Research demonstrates that to maximize glycogen stores and improve performance, athletes should increase carbohydrate intake in the 3 days prior to an event while decreasing their training volume. We'll touch on the amount later on, but you don't necessarily need to consume abnormal amounts of carbs in the days leading up to an event if your training volume has already decreased. In the days leading up to your event, you should focus on increasing your carbohydrate. In the days leading up to your event, you should focus on increasing your carbohydrate intake to 8 to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, and this should be done at least 3 days prior to the event itself.
Are you marked? It's set.
Performance is most greatly enhanced by a combination of pre and during carbohydrate consumption, so Carbo Up will release both before and during your competition. For shorter events, less than 1 hour, Carbo Up will mostly just release carbs 3 to 4 hours before your event, but in longer bouts, it will release 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour during your activity to make sure you are properly fueled.
During high-intensity exercise, the energy demand increases. Therefore, during muscle exercises over 80% of VO2 max, the athlete's diet should contain much greater amounts of carbohydrates. So when you're working at higher intensity, CarboUp will release carbohydrates for your needs to match that demand. Slug, go, and forget.
We digest differently during different sports and activities, so CarboUp will adjust to your activity demands.